Jerry Windle, a retired Navy officer, adopted 18-month-old Jordan from a Cambodian orphanage despite his health issues. Jordan's birth parents had died, leaving him malnourished and with scabies. At age 7, Jordan began diving at a summer camp. Years later, he became the youngest diver at the Olympic trials. In 2021, Jordan represented the U.S. at the Tokyo Olympics, crediting his success to his father's sacrifices and support. Police body cam footage from January 2024 showed the moment officers found a severely malnourished 3-year-old girl who was found clinging to life in a roach-infested Ohio apartment. Sergeant Nathan Penrod stated that the child was covered in bedbug bites and weighed only 16 pounds. He went on to say that animal feces, rodents, cockroaches, insects, and flies were found all over the apartment. The child's mother, Rabia Mubalig, was arrested in connection to the case. She was indicted by a grand jury on 1 count of felony assault and child endangerment. In 2012, a Chicago man named Brandon Prevost bought a car for $600, registered it in his ex-girlfriend's name, and parked it at O'Hare Airport, accruing 678 parking tickets, totaling $105,761.80. Initially, his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Fitzgerald, was held responsible for the full amount. Eventually, the city agreed to reduce the fines by $100,000, leaving her with a bill of $4,470. Brandon Prevost had to pay an initial down payment of $1,600, and Fitzgerald was ordered to pay an additional $78 per month until the fine is paid off. Jean Libera, known as the Double-Bodied Man, had a parasitic twin named Jacques Libera attached to him from his chest-stomach area. Jacques had fully formed hands, arms, legs, and 2 feet. While it's generally believed that parasitic twins lack consciousness, some accounts suggest that Jacques was alive and capable of movement, though he was dependent on Jean for survival. In 2007, archaeologists unearthed the lovers of Valdaro, a pair of 6,000-year-old skeletons found in a lover's embrace, face to face with their limbs entwined. Discovered in a Neolithic tomb near Mantua, Italy, there were no signs of violence or injury. In June 2001, Andrea Yates drowned her 5 children in their bathtub, then called the police. Initially convicted of capital murder and sentenced to life in prison, her verdict was overturned due to false testimony. In 2006, a retrial found her not guilty by reason of insanity, citing severe postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, and schizophrenia. Yates was committed to the North Texas State Hospital for treatment. In 2009, Patricia Lefranc suffered a devastating attack when her former partner maliciously threw sulfuric acid on her face. The horrific incident led to Lefranc falling into a coma for 3 months, during which she lost sight in one eye, experienced partial deafness, and underwent an overwhelming 86 surgical procedures. Even 2 years later, the corrosive acid continued its destructive path, causing further deterioration of her skin and the loss of her nose. Richard Remus, her ex-partner, received a 30-year prison sentence for attempted murder. He claimed during his trial that he was unaware of the severe harm that would result from spraying sulfuric acid. On February 22, 1970, Keith Sapsford, a 14-year-old boy from Australia, snuck onto the tarmac at Sydney Airport. He hid inside the wheel well of a plane bound for Tokyo. As the plane took off, amateur photographer John Gilpin was coincidentally at the airport taking pictures. While photographing the plane Keith was on, John captured the moment the wheel well opened and Keith fell out, tragically falling to his death. However, John was unaware of the heartbreaking event he had photographed until he developed the film about a week later. On June 12, 2024, Wade Wilson was found guilty of the first-degree murders of Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz, which occurred on October 7, 2019. Melton was found oft in her Cape Coral home, bound and wrapped with her skin having turned blue and her fingernails broken. Ruiz was discovered deceased in an empty lot on the same day, according to police. In 1966, Scotsman Angus Barbieri accomplished a feat that many would deem incredibly dangerous. He successfully completed a fast that lasted 382 days. His decision to undertake this challenge stemmed from his weight, which exceeded 450 pounds. At the age of 27, he aspired to achieve fitness and good health. In a little over a year, he shed 276 pounds and established a record for the longest duration of a fast. John Mad Jack Churchill, a British Army officer who fought throughout the Second World War armed with a longbow, bagpipes, and a basket-hilted Scottish broadsword. He holds the last recorded kill with a bow and arrow in action. He was given his nickname after he held 42 German soldiers hostage while wielding a sword in occupied Norway during a 1941 raid. This image shows Mad Jack with a sword in his hand during a training exercise in Inverarray, Scotland. Red Wings Airlines Flight 9268 crash-landed in Russia in 2012. Thankfully, there were no passengers aboard the aircraft, but there were 8 crew members. Unfortunately, 5 of the crew members lost their lives when the plane overran the runway and collided with a ditch and highway structures. During World War II, Pope Pius XII told the United States that he couldn't confirm reports that Germany was executing Jews. But in 2020, newly declassified documents revealed that he was lying and knew that the Holocaust was happening all along. When Don Carcos fought in 1942 during World War II, he was hit with shrapnel and blinded in his right eye. While working on a raceway 64 years later, a horse head butted him in the same spot, threw him against the wall, and he woke up the next day with his vision restored. During World War II, a Nazi officer ordered his soldiers to hold their fire to allow for the rescue of an American soldier who stepped on a landmine. When no one came for help, the officer went to rescue the soldier but stepped on a landmine himself. This is a photo of a Japanese boy waiting for his turn to cremate his little brother who passed away towards the end of World War II. When a guard told him to give him the load on his back, the boy replied, saying, "It's not cargo, sir. It's my little brother." Arnold Schwarzenegger had a brother named Maynard who was favored by their Nazi father but died in a drunk driving crash when he was 24. Arnold didn't attend his brother's funeral or his father's. In 2012, the cruise ship Costa Concordia collided with a rock off the coast of Italy, resulting in 32 deaths. When asked why he abandoned the ship while his passengers were either dying or trying to escape, the captain's excuse was that he fell into a lifeboat. He received 16 years in prison for his role in the tragedy. After escaping from a POW camp during World War II, Australian soldier Robert Kerr McLaren removed his own appendix in the middle of a Philippine jungle. He did it without any anesthetic and only used a razor blade, mirror, and plant fibers for stitches. The operation took 4.5 hours to perform, and he made a full recovery. The extremely venomous blue-ringed octopus has enough venom to kill 10 grown adults. This deadly neurotoxin can result in patients being fully aware of their surroundings but unable to move. Because of the paralysis, you have no way of signaling for help or indicating distress. There's no antivenom for the bite, but if you can get a ventilator to breathe for you for 16 hours, you will survive with no side effects. British mathematician and computer scientist Alan Turing is the man who cracked the Enigma code during World War II. He's estimated to have shortened the war by at least 2 years and to have saved 14 million lives. Despite his heroism, he was later charged for being a homosexual and forced to undergo chemical castration. 2 years later, he offed himself by ingesting cyanide.